Just about perfect. A nice, easy breeze from behind, gliding into the anchorage. This is the sort of shot that launched 1,000 dreams and sold a lot of sailboats. And this is the reality, for sure. But somewhere along the way, as the dream takes shape, you may start to feel a few butterflies, or maybe your significant other feels a few butterflies. What about the weather? Pirates? Storms? Running aground, flipping over? What sort of things are worth worrying about, and which things just plain aren't a concern?
On a recent trip from the Bahamas back to Florida, we had to face one of those fears that you might have: colliding with a semi-submerged object that could sink our boat.
Today we're going to talk about the top 5 things that we fear most while out cruising. We'll also give you a list of things that used to stress us out, but really are pretty easy to deal with.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, so we're going to go explore new places. We're going to get up to the Berries and take advantage of these nice winds. Should be a lovely sail, nice and fast.
I really love these downwind conditions. You feel like you catch waves, and we're going up to 10 knots, just surfing. Really fun.
We are crossing to New Providence, or the New Providence Island area. We've got to cross something called the Yellow Bank, but it's a series of small coral heads that reach up to about 5 feet below the water line. You have to be able to read the water pretty well, so they suggest crossing during the midday hours, which we're going to, but also with a lot of sunshine. Say it's mostly sunny, but few cumulus clouds. They cast a shadow on the water, and it can make it a little bit more difficult to pick those coral heads out. You certainly don't want to tempt fate with these. If it looks like they might be a problem, don't test it, just go around.
This is how Nick gets his head in the game before we go through a cut. You ready?
Do I look ready?
Need to get you up there on the bow. Wow.
We used to be afraid of being way offshore, out in the deep ocean. Well, that's actually where it's fairly safe. It's close to land and in shallow waters, where we really have to be careful and attentive.
Starting our approach to Hoffman's Key. Really skinny water. I'll sketch you. One 7, 1 6, 1 5. Point 7, point 8. It's clarity on 1 6.
Clarity, are you familiar with that? How to come in here?
We're just watching the red line. How we doing?
I get closer to shore and come on in a little bit towards shore a little bit more, and then you can see where you clear the shallow area.
Oh, much appreciated. Thank you.
All right, we just got to Hoffman's Key in the Berries, and we got invited to go on an adventure to the Blue Hole. So we're gonna take a break from editing and making music and go explore.
Here at Hoffman's Key, we're pretty close to shore and there's several other boats around. But that's not always the case. And this brings up one of our real fears. One of the concerns that we rationally have on a day-to-day basis while cruising. And that is having the dinghy engine quit while we're far from clarity.
Just crossing the channel again. A lot of current through here. It's pretty rough. You would not want to lose an engine or anything. You'd be off in the Atlantic.
Yes, we do have water and stores aboard the dinghy, and the dinghy does have paddles. But if it were a situation where the winds were very strong and blowing us offshore, we could end up in deep trouble because of an outboard that wouldn't run.
Here we go, baby.
What happened to this blown forecast, Nick? Why are we in this exposed anchorage?
I do not know. Not one model was saying anything close to this. You're supposed to have winds from that way, and they are coming from that way. Literally 180 degrees off.
We're gonna be rolling. I be hating.
Now, the weather is always a concern when we're cruising. But surprisingly, storms at sea really aren't that big a threat. With modern weather forecasting and the data available via satellite or HF radio, you can avoid most of the worst of it. So anymore, we don't fear really bad weather. Sharks. You find them everywhere in the tropics, and they're just a fact of life. Over time, we've become a lot more comfortable, and most sharks we don't fear. But there are a couple dangerous species that we've encountered quite a few times. One is the tiger shark. This one is about 14 feet long, lingering under clarity. And also the bull sharks. Those are a little bit wider. Both of those can be pretty aggressive towards humans. Now I carry a pole spear with me most of the time when I'm in the water. But by and large, sharks we no longer fear.
Breath of life. It's kind of a dilemma. We do need to go back to the States to get some stuff done. We've got a great opportunity to get a dock for free. It's huge. There's some things you just have to be tied up to a dock for, and that includes getting anchor chain and doing some work on our charging system, working on the props.
Which brings up another one of our top cruising fears, and that's docking the boat. One wrong move and we can do a lot of damage to our boat or others. It's not just the tight quarters that makes us nervous. It's accounting for wind, tide, current. It's never been an issue on Clarity, knock on wood, but we've lost transmissions and engines while maneuvering in tight quarters on previous boats. So yeah, we still have a bit of healthy fear about docking the boat.
Ooh, what have we here? Thank you, Miss Megan.
Thank you, Captain.
What a tweet. Your eggs have gotten really good.
I read that article. So the trick is you scramble your eggs in a bowl, put salt in it, and then don't touch it for 15 minutes. So you gotta plan ahead a little bit.
I think we need Megan's cooking channel. We've got a little bureaucracy to deal with in getting out of the Bahamas. We've got to check out. This is actually somewhat standard practice in a lot of countries. It hasn't been the practice in the Bahamas until this year, but you've got to go present your papers and get a stamp for when you leave. And interestingly, you're supposed to go into a marina many times. We're not going into the marina here. It's just too tight, and with our propeller issue, I don't want to be maneuvering around other expensive boats. So I'm going to go on a little adventure to try and find a customs official that will stamp us out.
He forgot his mask.
Thank you. All right, that's all we needed was a stamp on this many times duplicated document. Just a stamp. Easy enough. We're ready to go. Just need the winds to change a little bit. Well, it's Monday, and that means time to get back to work.
It is Monday?
It is Monday. So we're going to get things underway here pretty soon. Get the sails up. Get out of Dodge. Goodbye, Bahamas.
Looks like we've got a light breeze at 9 knots. Moonlight is perfect for showing us where different boats are and lighting the way. It is very, very sad to leave. Not a particularly rough day, but also not flat calm. Life goes on. It's time to make breakfast. Before we set out cruising, I thought cooking underway would be a lot harder than it is. But by being organized and moving a little bit slower, I can cook just about anything.
What's the hardest part about cooking underway?
I think you gotta just stay connected to the countertops.
Connected?
Yeah. Gotta have some connection, some hip connection. And then try not to get, seasick from focusing and having maybe not as much air. And then sometimes the heat of the stove makes me a little bit whoa.
Now we're on another mothball fleet here. Another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cruise ships out here. This is the second cluster. I think there was 8 or 9 about 15 miles behind us. It is so weird. We're out in the middle of nowhere, and these boats are just sitting here collecting sea spray. No passengers, no place to dock. Anyway, weird sight.
They look like prison ships.
It's a bunch of cells.
Yeah, don't jump out.
Gonna explain why we're doing this trip in 2 parts. There's a wreck out here. A boat sank, or mostly sank, about 4 or 5 days ago, and it may be drifting around a little bit in the path across the bank. So we've got to cross your hair. We've got to cross the area during the day so we can keep a lookout for it. Might be a good time to address the question about whether we worry about hitting submerged objects or semi-submerged objects when at sea. And the short answer is no, we don't.
When we're offshore, it seems like the sea is filled with mostly nothing. We'll get an occasional visit from a dolphin, and that's a big highlight. Otherwise, we're just watching out for ships. That's not to say that there aren't hazards to navigation out there. Our friend came across this piece of junk floating off the coast of Cuba just this season. Partially sunk vessels, tree trunks, pilings, parts of docks, and you may have heard of shipping containers that are lost overboard each year off big ships. The World Shipping Council estimates the average is just under 1,400 of those containers lost overboard every year. Not all of them sink to the bottom. So with all this stuff potentially floating around out there in the ocean, ready to jump up and sink us, why is it that we just don't worry about it on a day-to-day basis when we're in the open ocean? Well, that's because the ocean is incredibly large. And in all of our miles, we've only ever seen something potentially dangerous once or twice. Those are very, very low odds.
Alright, so I'm on the lookout for this 90-foot power yacht that sank a few days ago on this track, on this corridor here. I've got the radar fired up. I've plotted the coordinates the last 3 days. I plotted it on my map, so right now I've got it set at about 1.5 miles to 2 miles south of the last known coordinates.
See it?
I think I got it. It's in the right spot based on the reports from yesterday. Barely showing up on radar. It's just barely a speck on the horizon. Definitely would not want to come through here at night.
Okay, let's talk piracy. Do we worry about pirates? We don't know anybody that's ever been attacked by pirates. But we did witness this innocent cargo vessel with tourists on board get attacked by pirates. In all seriousness, we don't worry about piracy. High crime areas are easy to avoid. They're isolated and well known. There are 2 excellent resources for you to check. That's noonsight.com and the CaribbeanSafetyAndSecurityNet.org.
All right, what are some of our other major fears while out cruising? Number 3 is that something happens to a loved one back home, an injury or an illness. It's happened before, and when we're anchored out in the middle of nowhere, getting back to our loved one's side is a major endeavor.
Max wind here in a few minutes when it's safe to go up to the helm, but still coming down pretty good.
Like I said before, we are always watching the weather, but if there's one weather phenomenon that worries us more than anything else, it's lightning. Lightning strikes on boats are much more common than we ever thought. We personally know 8 boats that have been struck. Lightning frequently damages or destroys all the navigation equipment on board and can also cause problems with things like batteries, starters, alternators, and the windlass. At the very least, a lightning strike is going to be a huge expense. But at worst, it could actually sink the boat. There have been cases where lightning strikes have taken out through holes and the boat has flooded. Our number 1 fear while out cruising is probably something that you've heard before, and that is a fire on board. Fiberglass, once ignited, is extremely difficult to extinguish, and we have personally witnessed 2 fiberglass boat fires. And one of those fires we just happened to randomly catch with the drone about 5 miles off Lee Stocking Island, out in the Exuma Sound. Thankfully, everybody got off the boat unharmed, but the boat sank. Because these fears are all top of mind, we take steps to make sure that we can deal with those threats as best we can. We keep the dinghy engine running in pretty good working order. We avoid lightning whenever possible, and we put our electronic devices in the oven to protect them in case of a strike. We keep firefighting equipment close at hand and have our escape planned out well in advance. As with many things, simply having the fear leads to hypervigilance, which actually lowers the risk overall. And that kind of hypervigilance is one of the reasons we don't fear falling overboard. Now that we've seen just how rough the ocean can be and how difficult it would be to retrieve one or the other of us should we fall overboard, we consider MOB to be a death sentence. So whenever we're maneuvering on deck, we keep one hand on the boat, and if it's rough out, we're clipped in.
This is so nice. I kind of want to just take a right and head up the Gulf Stream.
That's a theme with you.
It
You
is.
always want to keep going.
Well, you get these good conditions, and it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, wow, we could ride that stream north. I am a little nervous to go into Fort Lauderdale because it's a really busy port. Things are going to be close together. I've heard it's very narrow. We've got some butterflies about getting in there and trying to figure out where to go.
We have very specific instructions on how to navigate these waters. So we're going to go up a channel, up another channel, make a hard left, then hug the, what do you call it? Hug the seawall.
Yeah.
They had a word for
Bunk
it.
or something.
Oh, he said to hug the bulkhead.
The bulkhead.
So-
Wait, like the bulkhead in my boat?
Yeah, the bulkhead, I guess, is where, I don't know, the shore is. And then we're going to make a right. We have never met the owner of this house and the stock, but we're really grateful for the free place to tie Clarity up and get some stuff done. I gotta be honest, I'm not really looking forward to this.